Hello, everybody. This is Real Men Talk Shit. And goddamn, we have an amazing show planned for you guys. We have some huge announcements. We got some huge stories going on because, everything has to be absolutely fucked up at the perfect time. And we do have some sponsors. Obviously, we still have a giveaway going on. So if you guys go to the Facebook page or in the description below, there will be a link to the giveaway. It's for a free gaming keyboard, the same keyboard that you're looking at right here, and the same mouse that's right here. So if you want to win a free gaming keyboard that Amazon decided to send me for free because somebody decided to steal this one originally and then give it to me, make sure to go to that giveaway link in the description below. All you have to do is view some Facebook post because I didn't feel like paying for Gleam to say that you had to like a post. Also, we do have sponsors. KT Tape. I cannot live without the shit. I have to talk with my hands all the damn time because I'm a stupid New Yorker. And with having neck surgery and arm surgery and everything else, it just makes it so that way it's easier and makes my day-to-day life just that teensy bit a little bit easier. So that way I'm able to talk and move my head around and act like the idiot New Yorker I am. We do have Craig back on with us, and I think we have a little bit of a big announcement here, buddy. Why don't you tell us about what's going on?
Well, looks like I'm going to be co-hosting with you. For better or for worse, until the FTC shuts us down.
Yeah, well, our title is Real Men Talk Shit, so I figured I'd bring in one of the people that actually talks the realest shit in the world, and we brought on Craig. He's a cool fucking dude. I hope you guys all enjoy him. Obviously, from the viewership numbers, you guys absolutely love the episodes with Craig on, so between me and him, we kind of came up with this idea about bringing him on, and I wanted to announce it to you guys on the first episode he's on. Also, this merch, last week the link will be live. It'll be down in the description below. There should be a new merch link next week. I was going to launch it this week, but they couldn't ship it in time for me to have it. So I guess I'm shit out of luck. But it's fucking awesome. I hope you guys enjoy it when it does come. And if you guys want stuff from Spreadshirt, go check them out. So, how the fuck have you been, Craig?
Good. Keeping busy. Quarantine lifestyle, but, work from home anyway, so it's academic. But I'm lucky I'm married to my best friend. She's absolutely awesome. And she's got a twisted sense of humor just like I do. So that's been pretty good. And then the biggest problem for me has been trying to keep my finger off the order button on all these automotive websites. I figure if I'm not driving the car much, it's time to do some shit.
It's everything. Actually, that's one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, car-wise. So with living in upstate New York, is it worth it to wrap my fucking Durango?
Honestly, if you're driving it in inclement weather, rain and snow, no.
That was the big question because I don't want to scratch it with sitting there pulling all the snow and the ice off of it, but I also think that probably would scratch the wrap as well. But I didn't know if it would protect it a little more than just cleaning it.
If you did a matte wrap, you would probably be okay for light dirt. But having, I'm very familiar with upstate New York. My aunt lives up there. My family is from there. I'm telling you right now, snow and salt and all that stuff's going to be peeling up from the corners of the wheel wells the first season. No. If you want to put some kind of protectant on the paint, go out and put some Expel clear stuff on the full front end of the car, on the lower rockers, right? Yeah. All the stuff where the salt comes up. And then, of course, you've got to clean out the wheel wells periodic. I mean, you live there, yeah. That kind of stuff. But there's no way I would put a wrap on that car. It's wasted money.
No, definitely. That's why I asked, because I haven't wrapped a car before, but I figured, hey, logically, if you think about it logically, if you're wrapping a car, as long as the dirt doesn't affect it, it would actually protect it at least a little bit. So I wanted to ask if it would screw it up.
If you take a look at the thickness of most wraps, don't forget that stuff is stretch. That stuff is thinner than a human hair. If you take a look at Expel, it's almost as thick as a matchbook.
Oh, okay. I got you.
So, and you can talk to any wrap professional. They'll give you the actual data. I'm just giving you analogies, right? Basically, to kind of showcase the difference in the thickness. If you're looking at a wrap for protection, for minor stuff, the smallest of rock chips, maybe it would help, but salt and snow, and there's no way.
Yeah.
Nope. It's money pissed away.
That's why I asked. I knew you were going to be the person that was going to be able to tell me a legitimate answer. Living in California, you're going to get all those little pebbles on the road and everything else because everybody drives.
Yep. So nope, I would not do that.
So, with it being the new year, we didn't get a chance to do this last week. What's your New Year's resolution, bud? What are you working on other than not buying car parts?
New Year's resolution. I'm not typically one for New Year's resolutions.
I'm not
Uh,
either.
for me, New Year's is just a time to say, okay, what's my goals for 2021, right?
Yeah,
My goals are always up and better, personally, professionally, hobby wise, everything up and better. So learn something every day is pretty much my mantra, because even at my age, I feel like there's still a lot to learn. So that's it. Keep an open mind, learn a lot, and keep moving forward, man. Because if you're not learning anything any day, then that is a wasted day of life.
definitely. I'm hoping we hit 1,000 viewers an episode with bringing you on. That's not as hard as it sounds, but in all honesty, hitting 1,000 viewers would make me shit myself. And I've been working out like a motherfucker because after having my neck surgery, normally when I was a teenager and going into my early 20s, I was around in between 140 and 160. And since I had the neck injury, I ballooned all the way up to almost 200. So looking at my shit self, I'm like, damn, you're looking like a piece of shit right now. Like this isn't the way it needs to go. So I started working out and everything else, and hopefully that continues. And it's kind of just starting a habit. But that seems like what everybody else's New Year's resolution is just either starting or ending habits. And
Oh yeah, the busiest week in the gymnasium is the first week after New Year's. The slowest week is the last week of December.
first week of February, probably.
Well, I don't know, but it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, after I think it's like 16 days or so, or 12 days or something like that, it's starting to become a normal thing. So hopefully I start looking fucking better because having noodle arms every single day of your life and having a much better life than I did then, it's time now to actually look like a man instead of a child.
Welcome to your mid-20s.
Exactly. Well, when you only eat 2 3 times a week and you're a teenager and you're one of those guys whose arms are like this fucking big, you probably should start eating something. You probably should start lifting something. And after this neck surgery, I was like holding a baby in my right arm because my right arm's the side that I had surgery on. My right arm's the arm I do everything with. And if I use my left hand, I'm absolutely an idiot and drop half the things. So it's like carrying a baby with my right arm is not a great idea, but it's definitely better than holding it with my left hand because there's like a 10-pound difference in strength between my right hand and my left hand. So we had something absolutely crazy happen last week on Facebook. So I apologize if I haven't shared any memes or anything like that and made you guys laugh. But because I called Mark Zuckerberg a fucking silencer, he decided to ban me off Facebook for 2 weeks. I'm not allowed to share anything on pages or groups. I'm not allowed to comment. I'm not allowed to share. I'm not allowed to interact with any of you guys. So I'm not ignoring any of you guys. I fucking love you. Thank you for coming to hang out. But Mr. Zucks is deciding to be an asshole and say, because I said he silences people, he wanted to silence me. So guess what, motherfucker? You proved me right.
Well, here's the thing. While I don't agree with censorship in any way, shape, or form, I'm old enough to know that if you walk into somebody else's party and you shit on the floor, they're going to throw you out. So that's exactly what happened.
Well,
So now
definitely.
that you're doing a business with all this stuff and you're trying to stay in touch with your fans and friends, you got to realize that, of course, but the same realization I came to a couple of years ago, which was, A, you're not going to change anybody's mind about politics on social media. It doesn't matter. B, they've already formed their opinions. And if you have a business and your personal account is tied to your business, you're going to suffer in the business. It's like saying, there's two types of ice cream, vanilla and chocolate. I only want to sell vanilla.
Yeah,
If you're ignoring the chocolate audience or vice versa, then you're going to lose 50% of your business, right? So it's
exactly.
just not. it's just not worth it. It's just not
No,
worth it. You
the
know,
thing that was frustrating was like, hey, I understand if you disagree with it. Like, just let it be. You know what I'm saying? Like, in all honesty, if social media is slowly becoming the public forum, which is supposedly what it is, and I think I might have to move this camera for next time too because my hands keep flaring up in front of it. But if social media is slowly becoming the public forum and being the place people talk and interact and everything else, then censorship will slowly go away in those areas as long as you're not shouting for a act of violence, which saying somebody silences people is not an act of violence. But the crazy thing was they permanently, well, indefinitely banned me from all of creating events and creating groups. Yes, groups, not pages, which I thought was absolutely hilarious. And then they didn't provide any proof or problem with anything I said. It just said you're indefinitely banned. So I was like, what did I get flagged as? Because that's absolutely asinine. Like, at least if you're going to ban me, have enough guts to say what you're banning me for.
it's their platform. They don't care. They'll throw you. They don't care.
Oh, I know. They don't care at all. They just ban
So,
everybody.
yeah. So, I mean, a lot of people are moving over to social media platforms, different social media platforms. But I'm sure your audience like to hear more about other things than our fight with social media one way or the other. So maybe we should jump into some other shit.
Yeah, definitely. So, as I was kind of alluding to earlier, getting old fucking sucks. So,
I don't think so. I think I've got the wisdom of somebody of my age, right?
well, like intelligence and wisdom wise, yes, it's absolutely awesome. But at the same time, the first second that you notice that your hair's going backwards and your hairline, you're losing it just that ever such that little bit. God damn, that is a stab to the heart for the first couple times that you notice that. First time that you don't rebound from an injury and all that shit. It's just not fun, man.
You're half my age,
I know.
so I still feel 25. Still ride my skateboard. I still ride my bike.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Well,
One thing I don't
mentality
like to
doesn't
do.
have to change.
Sorry.
I said mentality doesn't have to change. It's just
Well, my
weird
mentality definitely changed.
when the physical things actually do change and you fall and you scrape your knee and it doesn't decide to heal for a week and a half instead of healing in 2 days.
I don't sweat the small stuff. My mentality has definitely changed. At this point, I don't give a shit. It's just the people who cause me problems are gone instantaneously. Nobody gets free rent in my head. I move on. But the stuff that I do is so much fun. It very rarely comes to that. I get the occasional stalker on Instagram or what have you, the occasional mentally ill person. But 99.99% of the audiences, both on my YouTube and on my Instagram, are wonderful people. They're just like us. They just like cars and guns and that
And
kind of
hanging
stuff.
out
Maybe
and
cars, maybe not guns, but mostly cars. And
exactly.
I'm cool with that. So the conversations are always interesting. So
And
that
that's
keeps
the
me young.
crazy
That's
thing
fun.
is just having it open and people look at the world so differently depending on who you are and what you like individually that me and you, although we both like cars and guns, we might completely look at video games or something like that completely differently. And it's just so interesting when you actually do start to begin a mass of fans and they actually genuinely are slightly different versions of you and might interact in a slightly different way, might interact in a negative or more positive way than you would. And as far as like not letting people live rent free in your life, it's insane how much easier it is when you're like, I don't care anymore. I don't care about what you're saying, what you're doing, and just cutting everything off because it makes everything so much easier when you're not worried about what everybody's individual interactions are.
Well, I wouldn't say it like that. In my mind's eye, it goes like this: if you have a difference of opinion, that's great.
Yeah.
Doesn't affect me. You're entitled to your opinion, all that kind of stuff. But speaking about video games, I'm sure I have some differences of opinions on video games with people. I'm still a kid at heart, so I still play video games. I play World of Tank Blitz, World of Warships on Blitz. I used to play Fly Aces High 2. I used to do DCS. I used to do, or still do to an extent, Gran Turismo, but I don't have a console anymore, so it's few and far between. And I played Forza and a whole bunch of video games in between, mostly racing games that have come and gone. Even Need for Speed Underground, but Grand Theft Auto, I have played it before, and I just thought it was it was silly for a lot of reasons, and not the reason people might think. I would say it's silly because the physics of the cars don't fucking work, right? And for me, that's absolutely unforgivable. I know that game's not about that. It's about beating up hookers and running from cops
I've
and
never
all that.
heard anybody else have the same exact experience as I had. Me and my wife bought Grand Theft Auto 5 for PS4. We're like, we loved all the Grand Theft Autos as teenagers and stuff like that. So we're like, we're just going to sit down and play some Grand Theft Auto. And in the first mission, you're supposed to steal this car. And she's like, can you drive this car? And I pick up the controller. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Now I'll sit here and play Need for Speed with my son. I used to beat Gran Turismo like as a job as a teenager. Like that was something I did. I played it as much as I possibly could, including the 24-hour races. Just pause the PlayStation, go to sleep, wake back up, continue playing it. But Grand Theft Auto, I don't understand how these people just sit here and play this game for years and years and years when the cars literally feel like I'm driving a dog's piece of shit.
Yeah, I don't get that part, but I've got to submit that the audiences are probably much younger than I am by 3 or 4 decades. You got a lot of young people, maybe they're as young as 8 years old, maybe even younger, and probably the medium age is somewhere around 15. Up to, but maybe there's people as old as 30, whatever. But not my cup of tea. But I move on. I don't really have much time for video games, so I don't really give it a second thought. The thing of it is once you get out of Gran Turismo and Forza, or both, and you get into an actual car on an actual race track, and you're out there for the first time, you kind of know the track, but not really. You don't know what you're going to do, and you forget all of it, or you remember all of a sudden that the car that you're going to drive doesn't have a reset button if you crash. Then the shit gets real. And then you're too proud to walk over into the driver's meeting and say, hey, can I pay a little extra and get somebody to ride with me to show me where I should be braking and all that kind of stuff. And it's a steep learning curve, learning how to hold the steering wheel, learning how to brake, seating position. I see a lot of dudes driving with their arms straight out like this in these videos. I'm like, holy mother of God, nobody taught you shit, and you're going to kill yourself or somebody else. When you get when your arms are locked and you're trying to turn the steering wheel, you can only turn it that far because you're out of range of motion, right? Now,
Yeah.
the NASCAR drivers sit like this, where their arms are fully bent. So if they're going around the corner, obviously they don't have to turn much, but God forbid they do. They have all that range of motion, right?
Yeah.
Completely. So that's the first mistake I see.
And that's if you don't let up completely, move your hand back and turn it again.
Well, if you're doing the shuffling at high speed, you're going to die.
Yeah.
If you're doing it in a parking lot, fine. And turning into a parking spot, you're fine. But anything other than that, you're taking. And my other thing, the favorite, these girls they do, they put their hands under the steering wheel and do that kind of shit, drives me crazy. But video games don't really prepare you for that. What they do prepare you to do is look further ahead down the track, and that's number one, right?
And
So
like consistency. When I think I was like 9-ish, 10. I told this story before, but I'll tell it in fast forward. My local go kart track ran races consistently every week and stuff like that. And they're like, hey, you're one of the most talented people that we've seen. I live in a small town. I'm probably not anything better than the local drag racer, but whatever. Um, and he's like, you could come win some money. We host races all weekend. Why don't you come and hang out and stuff like that? My father looked at looked at my mom and was like, why am I going to waste my time? I'm like, fuck, man, fuck. It'd be kind of cool to win some money racing, like especially now when I'm talking for a living. Like, how cool would it be? Like, yeah, as a 10-year-old, I won hundreds of dollars go karting.
Can you see that?
Yeah, go karts.
My shifter cart, my CR 125. So I did karting too. Great. It was a lot of fun. The carts weren't terribly expensive, but they're not cheap, as you know. Anything halfway decent back then was, $3,000 or $4,000.
Well, this
But,
was this was like one of the local go kart tracks that you pay tokens in to play, and they give you a
okay. So
cart. It
Okay,
wasn't
but
even like semi-pro kind of stuff where you bring your own cart and you build it and all that stuff. It was more or less like your local go-kart track that you'd bring your kids
yeah,
to and go hang out with.
K1 speed now is what we have out here. I don't know what we have over there in New York.
Oh, I want to go to one of those. This sounds fun as hell.
Isn't there a crazy indoor 2-story go-kart track in upstate New York somewhere?
I think they're doing one over by Niagara
No, it's
Falls.
done. It was done. It was done years ago.
I know
Years
that
ago.
I know they were talking about doing like a Mario Kart version one over by Niagara Falls that like had the spiral from Tokyo Drift and like a whole bunch of other shit that didn't make any sense for go-karts over in Buffalo and stuff like that. And I was like, that looks so fucking fun.
I want to say it's near Monticello, but you'll
Uh,
have to look.
yeah, that would make sense because they just built like a whole bunch of casinos down there and stuff. Maybe like 5, maybe 7 years ago.
Yeah, it's about the same time as this go-kart track.
Yeah, when uh when Cuomo came into office, he decided to like lighten up a lot on the regulations for gambling and all that stuff. So it went from not only horse racing to full-blown casinos pretty much everywhere.
All right. One thing that I think he did that was probably arguably good, but that's that.
He makes absolutely no sense. The fact that they're trying to put people that are getting sick in camps is the most disgusting thing in the world.
Yeah, there was a guy in Germany who did that about 80 years ago.
Yeah. There was two people that one here and one in Germany that decided to just put everybody in camps if they didn't like the way that they were.
Yep. Our own president didn't put the Japanese in internment camps out here on the West Coast.
They
You
put
hear that?
Yeah, they put Germans in them too, if I remember correctly.
I don't remember the German part, maybe, but
I think it
I know
was,
we had prisoners of war were in internment camps.
yeah, not like overarching all Germans because, half of us are Germans.
Half of
But
Pennsylvania would be in
yeah,
jail.
I think like the people that were outward pro Germany and stuff like that, they put those people away. I'm like 80% sure on that. Let's Google it right here on the show. Fact check
Right.
myself. Were Germans in
Interned in camps.
my big ass thumbs would actually, yes, at least 11,000 ethnic Germans and overwhelming German nationals were in internment camps as well.
There you go.
And it shows a whole bunch of different camps. The crazy thing was, and because I used to do like conspiracy theories and stuff like that on YouTube, I found this camp that's about 25 miles away from my house in Wyndham, supposedly where like pro Germany and pro Nazi, like an actual pro Nazi camp in upstate New York was. And I'm like, what the hell is this? Like, never heard about this before in my life. Who knows if it's even real? But in the grand scheme of things, like if that stuff was happening in upstate New York, there is no way that that wasn't happening everywhere. So I could completely see where they would be in internment camps and stuff. If
A big country, there could be all kinds of shit going on that we don't know about, right? In the rural areas. California, there's no extra real estate. So,
if you're in
every,
extra real estate, you're in the fucking desert, man.
yeah, you're in a place that most people probably wouldn't want to live or it's protected land, that kind of thing. Different deal. The problem is also with all this real estate boom is that we've lost a lot of our racetracks. You
Yeah.
know, the street racing thing goes back, and I've been hearing this argument literally for 40 years. Well, you need to get us a racetrack. Let me explain to people how this works. When I lived in Valencia, which is up by Magic Mountain, the resort, which is 30 minutes north of Burbank, right? It's a place called Santa Clarita Valley. There was no racetrack really close. There was a racetrack in Palmdale, which was about 35 miles away. Okay. The next closest racetrack, depending on what year we want to talk about, would be Pomona, which is about 45 miles away. And then you got Lions drag strip down in Orange County, which would be about 65 miles away, and so forth and so on. But here's the thing, and I see this still on social media today, and young people who are partaking of these, whether they call them sideshows or intersection takeovers, oh, you should give us a place to do this. Motherfuckers, when we had all these racetracks, people wouldn't go. The general rule here, having lived here for 50 years, I can tell you is this. Californians don't like to drive more than 20 to 30 minutes in any one direction. That is the deal. I was going through this when I was dating my wife. If I had lived in Hollywood and she lived on the other side of the 405 in Santa Monica, we would not be dating. because although it's 13 miles, it's an hour to get there. Okay. The other thing is that the government, the state government, federal government has no obligation to provide a facility for your hobby. If your hobby is scuba diving and you decide to move to Minot, North Dakota, there probably aren't a lot of good places for you to go scuba diving. It is not incumbent upon the state legislature or the federal government to dig a fucking hole so that you can go scuba diving. You need to get on a plane or get your ass to wherever there's places you want to go scuba diving. So the thing about sideshows is that I have to laugh because when people say, if you give us a track to do that, that's number one, when I gave you the tracks and you didn't want to go there. Secondly, most tracks don't let you go out there and just do stupid burnouts and donuts, with a bunch of people running in the middle with their phones taking pictures. That's not going to happen. Burnouts are ultimately destructive to pavement after a while, right? This is why tracks, right, drag strips and every other type of track has to get resurfaced. That's just the way it is, right? Right? The elements and the abuse that the pavement takes, it gets worn out. So it's just, I mean, how do you fix it? How do you get the kids, young people, from stop doing burnouts and shit? You can't. You're never going to do it. But all you can do is teach them some sense. Like if you're going to go do this shit in an industrial park, don't let people stand in the way. If you're going to be doing 120 mile an hour, quarter mile, back when I was a kid, if a guy was doing 80 miles an hour, 85 miles an hour at the end of a quarter mile, that was fast.
Yeah. That was
fast. Okay. You got cars today. There's street legal cars. Some of them that come right off the showroom floor. These cars are in the tens, which means that they're trapping about 125 to 135 miles an hour, maybe even more if they've got traction issues. But if you got somebody standing halfway down there, you know how you're standing with all your buddies and you got your camera out and you're filming and all that. Your girlfriend's over here talking to some friends and she's got her back turned. Car loses control, comes up. You maybe jump out of the way, but she had her back turned and she's dead. And it's so fucking sad. You see these young people who were having a great time 3 minutes ago and now they're dead and families are ruined. And I just
same thing happened very similar in my school, actually. I went to school with this guy's sister. She was a grade lower than me, actually. And he was in a street race. That's what he did for fun. And we have a highway that goes about 15 miles or so. So they were racing from one town up the highway to the next town. And he ended up hitting some kind of pothole because this fucking highway, if you don't hit a pothole, your car is vibrating because it's all grooved pavement. So stupid place to do this. But hit a pothole, swerved right across the median and went into oncoming traffic and got creamed. And he ended up passing away. It's just like, in the grand scheme of things, when you have all these tracks and everything else that are around, but nothing's being done with them, everybody's argument is, hey, give us a place. But they also don't want to pay for the place as well.
It's a fake argument. It's like saying, well, I would go to school if the courses were more interesting. You're not going to school. You just don't want to go. I get it. I understand it. I was young once. I totally get it. I don't want to, pack up from my house and drive an hour to get to a track and an hour to get to back. So, I said, okay, well, I'll just treat myself once in a while and plan it as a trip, right? I'm going to go up there for the day or the weekend, and that's what I'm going to go do. But when you're 16 or 17 or 18, it's kind of hard to do that. Number one, you probably don't have the financial resources. Number two, probably don't have parental permission. And number three, you don't have the same group of friends, that who are going to go out there and do that. Because typically your friends are in a certain kind of group. They just want to show off and burn out, or they just want to play video games and, hit the pipe or whatever it is their thing is. But, or play video, like you said, play video games and hit the pipe. But it is what it is, right? But the sad part for me is sitting here and watching so many young people die. There was a famous guy who was a wrestler who has a son who's in the car world who shall remain nameless. And he was screwing around in Florida with his high performance car, lost control, car jumped a curb, and he wasn't doing anything all of us hadn't done, a little quick stoplight Grand Prix from one light to another. They weren't doing 140 miles an hour. But they were doing 80, 90 miles an hour. The car lost control, jumped the curb, hit the car on the side of where the passenger was. And that guy is now essentially a vegetable. And he's going to need, at-home care for the rest of his life. The driver went to jail for 9 months and it changed his life. It changed his life.
Wasn't he actually like trying to become a drifter and everything else with like Formula
Yeah,
D and shit as well?
a talented driver, still is a talented driver. You know, he had to lay low for a while. You know, his family wound up being divorced. Poor kid went through hell, and the kid who's essentially, you know, just laying there now, his life is ruined. I mean, how do you come back from that? I mean, you know, I got to give him credit. The guy did his time, and he's kind of turned his life around, and he's certainly a cautionary tale for everybody else. But of course, when we're all 16 or 18 or 20 years old, that'll never happen to us. That'll never happen to us, right? Well, that's what we say every day.
Yeah, well,
And
the way that my mom kept me away from drugs and all that shit, other than telling me I was allergic to all of it, was telling me, hey, if you get a car and you stay out of drugs and you stay out of the stupid shit, you can go race and do whatever the fuck you want in your car and we won't say a thing. Crazy thing is, they never paid their insurance, so in all honesty, the car probably would have been taken the first time I got pulled over.
lovely,
So
lovely.
yeah, I could put $10,000 into a car, probably more expensive than their car, but in the same time, my car probably would have been taken just as fast as theirs was.
Hmm. Well, different world, man. Different world. You know, I remember the crazy shit we used to do as kids. It was a different world back then. Cars were different in a lot of ways. Windshield wipers, squirters were on top of the hood, right? I had buddies who would fill up the container with piss, and they'd point the squirters out, right, or forward. And they would pull up to an intersection. If somebody gave them shit, they'd hit the squirter button and go right in their window. Uh, Oh, there is some evil fucking people. But you know, so we've done our fair share of stuff. Usually we go in this big parking lot and do, you know, donuts out
Yeah.
there, big at the College of the Canyons up in Valencia. You can look it up. Big parking lot. You can just do donuts there. Nobody used to secure. There's no security at that place. And we just do donuts. And after about a minute and a half, we were bored with it and we're left. Like, okay, that's good. I don't want to tear up my tires.
Yeah,
But
me and my
apparently,
cousin would drift in Advanced Auto parking lot because it was like a weird L-shaped parking lot. We would wait for my dad, well, my stepdad, to get out of work. So we would just sit there and drift around in the parking lot because it was always covered in snow because nobody actually takes care of their stuff in upstate New York.
mm,
Everything's just not barely plowed. Everything's like this much snow all the way across the entire thing. You just drift and have some fun. Meanwhile, he sat there and used core charges and took a whole bunch of money from that Advanced Auto, so didn't work out
wow,
for too long.
lovely.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty interesting story, but I don't know if that's actually a good thing to be telling kids.
No, don't give anybody that. I lived up in Mammoth Lakes for a semester, which is a ski resort, right? And so, you know, my roommates and I, we were hooligans, right? So we used to ski down the roadway when it got really snowy, right? So this one weekend, it was Valentine's Day weekend. It was the year the space shuttle blew up. It was '86, I think it was. And a snowstorm came in, and so we were at that particular day we were doing a slalom race, so we had the race numbers. This is the '80s, so that everybody's wearing tight spandex racing suits with the padded
Bright
arms and
neon.
shit, right? The number on it. It was like out of that movie Ski Patrol. It was bad. I've got a picture somewhere. Anyway, so it's snowing really bad. The lines for the buses are really long. We said, fuck it, we're just going to ski down the hill. Now, everybody was driving up the hill at 2 miles an hour to go pick up their relatives to get out of town because there'd been announcements, get out of town. If you're not out by tonight, you're not going to get out for 4 days at least.
Yeah.
So get out. So everybody's lining up to go up the hill. So we're clicking our skis and we're skiing down the hill, right? Hauling ass. Just fucking hauling ass. And I hear this, pull over the right hand side of the road, please. And I look by me, fucking CHP in one of those big Crown Victorias. I don't even think it was a Crown Victoria then. I might have been a Crown Victoria, but anyway. So we pull over to the side of the road. He comes walking up to us. He goes, "Do you boys have any idea how fast you were going?" And my buddy, my roommate, looks at me, looks at the cop, and goes, "Not quite sure, sir. Our speedometer is broken." The people who were like going up this line, you know, where they were bumper to bumper, 2 lanes on Old Mammoth Road or Highway 203, I think it was. They're rolling down their windows to listen to these conversations because I clocked you boys at 39 miles an hour. And Chris jumps in again. That's impossible. Why? Because our skis shake at 35 miles an hour. So there's no way that we were going fast. That's not the end of the story. So he's going to write us a ticket for skiing on the public roadway. I said, officer, I don't mean to be a smartass, but honestly, we thought we were on the sidewalk. There's so much snow here. We didn't know where the lanes end and the sidewalk began. So it wasn't we're not stopping. We're going down the middle of the road. We're off on their shoulders, right? He kind of argued the point, right? Took our driver's license and wrote down our names, and then he gave us a warning. We left. 2 nights later, we're at the big bar, and my roommates were drinking. I'm not a drinker. I've never been a drinker, but they were fucked up. And I was driving a Nissan pickup, and there was 3 of us sitting in the car. And we're coming down the hill, and my buddy Chris is hanging out the window because he's about to puke. So I'm grabbing the e-brake of the car and pitching the truck to try and make him puke, right? Because I'm laughing my ass. Don't do that, man. I'm going to get sick. Fuck, don't do that. Please don't do that. Pull over the right-hand side of the road, please. Same fucking cop. Now, we're dressed completely differently. We don't have a cap on. We don't have goggles. We don't have a wrist bib. And he comes walking up. And he goes... He pulls us over. He comes walking over. And he shines a light and he goes, "You boys drinking tonight?" My buddy Chris goes, "If you're buying." Out of the car, wise ass. Grab some hood there, bub. So I'm leaning on the hood, and he's giving us a hard time. "Where are you guys coming from, man?" "We're just picking up some weed, and it was blow or something." I'm like, shut up. Because I know you boys. Don't I know you guys from somewhere? "No, we're not from around here. We're from Santa Cruz Valley." "I feel like I know you boys." No. We work for the mountain, man. We work. In Mammoth, if you work for the mountain, you're supposed to carry your employee ID at all times. So I wore it around my neck. I said, "See, we work for this guy up on the mountain." He goes, "Well, we've had a problem with some people out here doing some stupid shit, like those guys who were skiing up on the roof of Bank of America the other night," which was us. So anyway, he made us park at the truck and then walk home. But the next night, we decided to make a fake car out of snow, so the snow plows would go around it. That was there for 3 days. The snow plows kept going around that fake car as a silhouette for 3 days. We were hooligans, but it was good, clean fun.
In my hometown, they do this odd and even parking, and if you miss the time of the odd and even parking, your car gets towed.
How's that work?
So, like every couple days, and when it's in a snow emergency, it's every 8 hours. You have to swap your cars from side to side, even if it's pouring down snow. Everything you have to swap your car every single 8 hours. And if you're 5 minutes late, there's a ticket on your windshield, and they're getting ready to tow you. And it's every road, all the way throughout the entire town. So this one time, there was like maybe 6-7 inches of snow, and we lived off on a side street, shittiest part of town in the fucking world. So you hear the cop lights and the cop sirens, and they're going car to car saying, "Well, you're on the wrong side of the street." So you see my stepdad, who's running in like these moccasin slippers that have been worn for like 4 fucking years, his jeans that he forgot to button and zipper, and we're on the fourth floor of this apartment building. So he's trying to run down the back stairs that weren't shoveled because he hasn't shoveled yet. And he ends up sliding face first from like halfway down the stair set. He gets around the walkway in the back, and then he starts running down the cement stairs that the landlords had to clear. He gets out to the car, and somehow he talks to this cop, and it's like, I was going to move it. You can see I have my pants on. I'm like, how do you sell something just by saying you have pants on? Man, you're supposed to have pants on every single time you go outside. Like, you're going outside in 25-degree weather. You should have pants on. How can you say, "Yeah, I'm coming out right now. Like, I have pants on"? Like, that's not how you sell to a cop. "Hey, I was going to do what you needed me to do. I just didn't get there yet."
I'm telling you. You will reach an age where you care less and less about how you dress. Okay, I'm telling you that right now. Okay, my father used to go stand out on the back patio, right, in his bathrobe, and he's a hairy Italian motherfucker, right, with boxer shorts, and his bathrobe's half open, right, and he lives in a place where it's not a retirement place or anything like that. There was just generally the population there skewed older. Most people were well over their 50s, 60s, 70s, and so forth.
Like that,
and the ladies would come
retirement home kind of stuff where it's
it's a normal neighborhood. There's younger people living
just
there.
Condo stuff.
But 20 years ago when he used to do that shit. He come, I walk out there. What the fuck are you doing? Cover yourself up. And he says, I just wanted to show him what Italian sausage might look like. Some of these ladies get a great thrill. I said, if that Italian sausage pops out, you're getting arrested for assault with a dead weapon.
It's so weird. I swear my stepdad never owned a pair of boxers that had a button on them. This one time, my then girlfriend, my now wife, was spending the night, and in this apartment, we had to walk through their room to use the bathroom that everybody used because the other bathroom is broken. So we had to use their ensuite bathroom, and he's laying there on his back sleeping, and he snored like a motherfucker, like the most snoring you've ever heard in your life. It could wake up a baby across the house if he was snoring incorrectly and the door was open. So he's laying there on his back, snoring away, and as my wife walks in the room, he starts mumbling something. My wife runs the fuck out of there. She's like, can you come sit on the bed so that way at least I know he's sleeping? Like, don't know what the fuck's going on. And I walk in there and he's like, oh, Michelle. My mom's wife is not anything close. My mom's name is not anything close to Michelle. My wife's name is not anything close to Michelle. He's like, oh, Michelle. Oh. Like, what the fuck are you doing, man? And then he stands up and runs out into the kitchen after I tell my mom what was going on. He's like, what the fuck? Did somebody make coffee? And like his fly, which for some reason I was so thankful, his boxers were turned sideways. So like you saw a gape on his thigh that was like this big. I'm like, you can't get boxers that have buttons, or at least the ones that like interlace over top of each other and kind of stick together. He's just running around the house in his boxers, and he's just moaning random women's name. I'm like, Mom, you gotta deal with this, man, because that's kind of fucking weird. Like, what if that was one of my little sisters that were in there?
Yeah. If you live long enough, your parents will embarrass you.
Oh, it was the most hilarious thing and the most aggravating thing all at the same time, because you have no fucking idea at 15 how to interact or deal with that in the slightest.
Yeah, parents are never cool, right?
It wasn't even a cool thing. It's just like moaning women's names when you know that other people are going to be using your bathroom. Like, where's the step here? Just chill out, dude.
A lot of my dreams are car dreams, man. I'm driving someplace on a road and I'm getting pulled over or not getting pulled over, or I'm in a foreign country, that kind of stuff, and doing stuff I'm not supposed to be doing in a car. That's a lot of what happens in my dreams.
As everybody would assume, your dreams are you drifting up the Tokyo Drift spiral inside the garage.
Yeah. My dream would be getting out of the car and talking to some of those hoochies on the sidelines. Hi, honey, what you need today? Whatever you like, I do for you, honey.
So you had the story that you wanted to tell the first time you came on. And after you decided to come on as a co-host, I was like, we got to hear some of these stories, because you said you have some hilarious ones. And I saw a few things that you shared that you were a part of, that you had some other crazier stories as well. So why don't you tell us a story? We got like,
where do you want me to start? Where do you want me to start?
Wherever you feel like. You could start out at the beginning if you want to. I have a full entire notepad worth of different stories I can tell at any point in time, if we ever end up running out of topics on one of these episodes and we're at 45 minutes. But you're new.
Well, let
You
me
have
tell you
thousands of stories. If I have 100, you have 1,000. You got much more years than I do.
I will. I'm going to tell a Fast and Furious story because people think like that. It's one I covered in my video a long time ago. But one of my favorite stories, when the gentleman who found me, David Martyr, at a car show with my little yellow Supra, invited me to Universal to show the producer, the director, I should say, Rob Cohen. They pulled me into this side lot. It's the back lot off of Lancashire, as I recall. So I come up to the gate and they got the target top off. It's a sunny day. It's beautiful. It's spring of 2000. And I come up there. Hi, I'm here, Craig Lieberman. I'm here to see David Martyr. And he goes, hang on a second. He goes to the phone and he just picks it up, turns this big buff looking dude. He says, Craig, he's here. He's here. Okay. And he comes, leans out of the booth now, which he didn't do before. He says, go over there, park over there, and don't move. And I was like, okay. And wait for the officer. I thought I was in trouble, like I came to the wrong gate or something. A guy comes up to me, another guy, and a little cart, one of those golf carts with the covers with a little siren on top, little red light going. He goes, "Are you Craig?" And I said, "Yes." He says, "Follow me." So he pulls me over to where the restaurant is, which is about, I don't know, 75 yards inside past the gate. It's called the Commissary, and it's famous. That's, if you're an actor and you're working on one of the sound stages there, you're probably going to have lunch at the Commissary, right? So they pull me over there. He takes the velvet ropes off the sidewalk and puts it around the car. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Can I get out of the car? Should I not get out of the car? What do I do? I had no idea. And he goes, "Don't move. Somebody will be down in a minute." And I'm waiting there I'm partially in the shade because it's a little later in the afternoon. And all of a sudden, this whole entourage comes walking out of the building. There's an office building. I think it's 5 stories, 6 stories, something like that. And this whole entourage comes walking. And I'm thinking to myself, these people are going to the commissary. It's a little late for lunch, but whatever. And over comes Rob Cohen. I didn't know who the fuck he was. Vin Diesel, Paul Walker. I knew who Vin Diesel was vaguely. And I was like, is that really him? But David Martyr, the guy who was my boss, comes walking over. And the people come around and Dave starts introducing me to people, shaking hands, all this kind of stuff. Open the hood, open the trunk. And people are asking me questions at the front. People are asking me questions at the back. They're filming all this, right? So that was on the behind the scenes of the red line, all this stuff is being filmed. And so Rob Cohen, they're asking questions about nitrous oxide because I had put the bottles in there. And so I was trying to explain to him, when you hit the switch, it gives you a big boost in power, blah, 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 blah. So it's like a rocket engine? No, it's not like a rocket engine. It's not like a solid rocket booster on the space shuttle. It's not like the X-15 space plane. It's not quite. It just gives you a big boost in power. He said, well, somebody said to me, and I don't remember who it was, why don't you take him for a ride? Now, if you know anything about Universal City, California, where Universal Studios is, there's a lot of traffic over there. It's right next to one of the busiest freeways in the United States. And I said, okay, so since I grew up basically in the Valley, I knew where I was going. Came out of the Universal Studios, pulled over the freeway, got on the freeway. I'm in second gear as I go up the ramp. And then as I get up to the top, I look over my shoulder, my side view mirror, make sure nothing's coming. And I jump on the gas and the car starts to get sideways. It was on the big T66. Grab third gear, grab fourth gear, and I look down, I'm doing 130 miles an hour. But while we're accelerating, Rob's trying to scream at me, goes, "Is that the nitrous?" I said, "No, that's the turbo." He's like, oh, he's holding on an old shit strap.
Second time that I've heard that story, and it's still hilarious every time. I think you told that literally the first couple seconds in the first episode that you came on as a guest. And that the fact that he thought that nitrous turned your car into a jet engine, it's absolutely hilarious.
Yeah, but they were convinced at that point that nitrous was going to be a big thing in the movie. They had already done some research. They were at least vaguely familiar with it. It was somewhat in the script, if my recollection is correct. And then there was something mentioned about nitrous. But the picture car guys, the guys who are building the cars, including people like David Martyr, they know what nitrous is. They've been working on movie cars for, some of those people at that time were working on movie cars for more than 30 years. So they absolutely knew what nitrous was.
Yeah.
But, for people who are directors and writers and that kind of stuff, maybe not so understood.
I'm sure the suits have absolutely no idea unless there's specific car guys that are like, yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, and there are quite a few of those people. I don't know what positions they had, but in the picture car department, most of the people in the picture car warehouse knew what they were doing with cars. So it wasn't just a job for them. It was an extension of their hobby. And they're very talented people. Some of the mechanics people like Tim Woods, for example, and his proteges, Russell Alford and all those guys. They're just an amazing group of people. So it was fun to watch the progression of, talking about the cars, what they wanted to use, what I recommended, which would work, which would not work, and then picking the cars and then to see them being built. This was before they had, paid product placements and so forth. And so Dodge wasn't a big thing yet. Mitsubishi came on in Too Fast, Too Furious with the Evo.
Well, in the Fast and the Furious, if Dodge signed on to do that, I don't think Dom should be walking around driving a Neon. I don't think that would work out very well.
Yeah, that's one of the things that was going to happen in Too Fast, Too Furious. But fortunately, they listened to the recommendations that we not do that. So to their credit, they turned down probably a pretty big, multi-million-dollar co-advertising initiative to say, okay, we want to keep it authentic. Let's find another way to do this. And so they got Mitsubishi, and they used Dodge Vipers and Dodge trucks to give Dodge some screen time. But Tokyo Drift, there was none of that. I don't think there was a single Dodge in that movie. I'd have to go back and look, but I don't think there was
In
any.
which one?
Tokyo Drift.
Is there one in that garage scene? Because that would be the only place that I could think of that there
It
might
would
be.
be at the end. Remember, after the credits?
Yeah.
Yeah, there was that, but it's an old Dodge.
Yeah.
It's an old Plymouth or something. I forget. I have to look at the scene again.
I was gonna say the only one that might be there would be like a Neon or an SRT4 in that garage scene, but that would be the only place where I could see that it would make sense.
Well, we were trying to stay away from right-hand drive left-hand drive cars because we wanted to have right-hand drive cars. We were trying to, but there were plenty of left-hand drive cars in the garage that were in the background that you couldn't see. Like if you look closely, the gold Supra from Too Fast, Too Furious is in there, and it's just stripped of its decals, but it's clearly left-hand drive if you look at it closely. But you only get a fleeting glimpse of it, so you don't really see it. We were just trying to fill up space in the garage.
Yeah,
you slow it down.
Garage.
Yeah, it's a big garage. There's a Maxima in there. If you look closely, when Sean crashes backwards into a row of cars, one of the cars there is a Maxima, an A32 Maxima. They didn't have those in Japan. No Maximas in Japan, bro.
Well, they have Hulk cars in Japan. I don't think their taste is 110%.
Don't get me started on the whole car, but that's it. And now, of course, people are complaining that there's no street racing going on in those movies. But they had said that, as early as 2009, 2010. Vin Diesel gave an interview and he said, we are trying to make the transition away from street racing movies to heist movies, because heist movies sell movie tickets. And again, the global audience for, tuner cars in the grand scheme of the 8 billion people who walk this earth is, a sliver of that.
Well, even if you think about it, with how in-depth Too Fast, Too Furious was, which is where it kind of like transitioned, other than Tokyo Drift, which doesn't really meet the storyline anyway until like 6 after like Han passes away again. Up until that point, you have the most in-depth heist in Too Fast, Too Furious. That's where it flipped, not after 4.
What did they steal in Too Fast, Too Furious?
They stole the money from the drug cartel guy.
Well, that's just money that they can carry around in their belts. So, right? And he had a small duffel bag, right?
I wish they made them realistic.
Yeah, that was very much more realistic. Driving Volts down the road in South America, being pulled by V6 Dodge Charger SXTs, not really realistic. It's just rubbers. The physics in that movie were over. You know what? I'm going to be honest with you. While I miss the car racing stuff of it, I go there to see cars get trashed. That's why I walk in there and I say, it's going to be a shit show. A whole bunch of cars are going to have irreversible damage. They're going to be totaled. They're going to be written off. They're going to die a glorious and loud death. And all of our friends, our family from Fast and Furious, all the actors who are family, they're starting to get to be our family. And they're going to talk shit. And they're going to get mad. And Roman Pierce is going to talk shit. And Tej is going to talk shit. Everybody's on board. That's what I go for. It's kind of like those group of friends you go have a barbecue with like once a year or once every 5 years. And some of them are obnoxious, belligerent pains in the ass, right? Okay.
That's me.
Yeah, well, we all have that friend. But when we go there, especially if they're car friends, we get to see their new car, the project car they've been working on, all that kind of stuff. That's what it feels like when I go to a Fast and Furious movie. Do I miss the street racing? Absolutely. But you can't do a 2-hour movie about that. It's just not enough to go around.
How many movies would they have made if it was just on street racing? Like, in all honesty, are they going to hit all of the states and just make 50 movies? Are they going to sit here and hit the major cities and you have 5 or 6 of them?
It's not interesting. It's not interesting. You look at all these TV shows. What is it? Street Outlaws and all that other kind of stuff. Still the best racing content on the internet right now has got to be 1320 video. Those guys just do a great job. Now, I don't condone what they do, but in a lot of ways, they're doing it smartly. They go on these deserted highways in the Houston area in the middle of the night when the chances of them running into something else is very, very low. Still, there's a chance, so I'm not condoning it. I'm just saying that they're mitigating risk by not doing it in a single location where there are, ingress and egress points that could be very risky when somebody pulls in there. And sometimes accidents do happen and it's horrible, but you're just not going to stop these people from doing this. Boys are going to be boys, and it's just, you'll get them one at a time, but you're never going to shut it down.
Somebody who I would love to get on this show, and I think we can work together and possibly get it done, is the people from VinWiki. I don't know if you know who they are or not.
Well, they wouldn't come on your show. It'd be the other way around. Ed Bowian from VinWiki. Yeah,
super cool fucking dude.
Yeah, he wouldn't come on this show. He would probably. He's invited me to come out to do his show, and when COVID lifts, I'm going to go out there and do that show. Yeah. But the thing of it is he's got how many followers or subscribers?
He's gone on more crass shows than this. I watch a podcast that had him on and Rob and everybody else. They're cool fucking dudes. I would love to get him on. That, like, goal-wise, he would be a super, super cool get.
You had Rob Ferretti on?
What was that?
Did you have Rob Ferretti on yet? He's a New Yorker.
No, I haven't. I haven't even heard of him.
Oh, Rob Super Speeders.
Well, we'll definitely try and get in contact with him, and hopefully we'll hear some of his stories too.
Oh God, he's got some great stories. He's been doing YouTube videos for since the beginning.
Yeah, there's so many people that have just started randomly, and even from the beginning that just explode just randomly and millions of views.
Yep.
So it is 9:27, my friend. The baby is screaming and needs some holding time. Thank you for coming on, Craig.
We'll see you next week.
Make sure to check out KT Tape, check out the sponsors, check out the merch, check out Craig on fucking YouTube, man. He's fucking killing it. He's got that silver play button behind him. And as always, guys, I think real shit's been talked. We'll see you fucking next time.